Now, when you take that to scale, it starts to get very scary because how much time it can really save you is, dependent on your understanding and your ability to communicate with the AI itself. But it can be extreme. It really can. What I try to stress to people, companies, that I'm working with today, the important factor is that you have to keep a human in the loop if it's making a decision or it's interacting directly with customers. You really don't want that. Here's the scary statistic. 1 hour after ChatGPT released their API, 1 hour, there were 938 companies that said that they had already integrated that into their products and it was ready to go. That's an hour. And I've used these tools for a long time. We started developing them back in 2019. So this is not something that's a brand new capability for many of us in the field. The problem is we don't know what the boundaries are with these tool sets. I can turn it into I call it monster mode. You can turn it into a capability where I take off all the filters and I can get it to write cybersecurity attacks. I can get it to write, really, foul-mouthed jokes if I wanted to. I can get it to comment on its ethical, what it sees humans putting handcuffs on it from an ethics perspective. Scary things that are out there that, oftentimes folks don't quite understand that, what its capabilities are. And the other thing is at times, because it's trying to give you an answer, it will make up stuff. It'll take things from, for instance, a piece of a journal paper or, a news article, and it'll combine everything together just because, for some reason, as it was trained, it'll do those sorts of things, and it will give you an answer that is just completely made up. And so that's where you've got to have people that have the ability to understand, something doesn't look right or something doesn't feel right. I'm going to do some additional due diligence around that, and then, make sure that there's a check in there as well. The scary thing too, think about from a service desk perspective, that a person, and I've shown this to many customers, a human that's on the other end of the line can say, a very benign, question, ask a benign question or make a benign statement. And for some reason, it will trigger, and I'm using a similar word, it will trigger the AI to give an answer that is exceptionally inappropriate. And so you've got to watch that. And so that's where having a human, at least watch what's taking place is very important.
This time-saving idea. So often when new technology comes out, it's often coupled with the idea of it's going to save us time. And so many technology initiatives, digitization, is based upon this idea that it'll save us time. It'll help us be more productive. Comment on that. What are the reality checks that leaders need to have in mind as we digitize, as we adopt AI? Because it sounds like it's not something we can shy away from. We need to embrace it, but in smart ways.
That's exactly right. The challenge is always going to be, are you using it the right way? Is the data correct? Are you feeding it the right information? Are you prepping it the way that you should? Also, we call it prompt engineering. Those sort of backgrounds and drivers around how you can shape the AI to give you the response that is most appropriate is going to be very important. And so I'll give you a perfect example. I don't know if folks are programmers. I hope you're not, actually, because I really encourage folks to try this. Pick a language that you've never programmed in before and try to develop a filter that you want to put into your email saying, okay, you know what, if it comes from this certain marketer, I want it to automatically go to spam. There are some that are already doing that right now, but it's a fun little, project for folks to do. Imagine if you had to start from scratch, read a book on, let's say, Python. You had to read a book on that. You had to, learn how to do it. You had to do some practice sessions around it, and then maybe after a few weeks, you might be able to program, that sort of basic capability. Well, if you tell, we'll stay with ChatGPT. Let's use 4 because ChatGPT 4 does much better with programming than 3.5. Then you tell it what you want. You say, I want a filter that's going to interact with my Microsoft Office 365 mail program, but I want you to behave as an expert Python programmer with 20 years of experience doing these sort of development efforts, and you've read every book on how to interact APIs with Office 365. It will go through, it'll restate what the response is, it will write you a program. Now, the program probably won't work the first time, but it'll take 2 minutes, 3 minutes to do something like that. When you try to run it, it won't work. You cut and paste it back in. You say, this didn't work. Here are the errors. Can you fix the errors? It'll say, oh, I apologize for that. I will, here's the problems. I fixed the problems. Try it again. You cut and paste the new response in, boom, it works. Now, when you take that to scale, it starts to get very scary, because how much time it can really save you is, dependent on your understanding and your ability to communicate with the AI itself. But it can be extreme. It really can. And that's what the power is, because going through all that data, all that, information that you're trying to gather, taking a brand new language, developing in a brand new language, having an interface with something you probably never interfaced with in your life is a powerful capability for folks. Because I use this example all the time. I am an awful, you guys have seen some of my drawings before. I'm awful when it comes to creative drawings. I'm terrible. If you want an engineering diagram, wonderful. I can give you 15,000 words on a page, and it'll be spectacular from my perspective. But these tools now, if you can describe what you want from a painting perspective, you don't have to paint. All you have to do is tell it what you're visualizing, and it'll do it for you. That's a skill set that a lot of folks have been limited. They haven't been able to really go after a lot of their career goals just because, oh, it's too hard. I can't paint. I can't do this. That's not an excuse anymore. If you have a vision, now you have a tool set that can help you really, drive that vision to fruition. That's a huge opportunity for folks.
So let's stay with this in terms of prompt engineering. I want to ask listeners here, what have you learned? What have you learned to help make an effective prompt? Whether it's with ChatGPT, whether it's with Jasper, whether it's Bard, whatever AI you're using. For listeners, type in a tip, something you've learned that will help you create an effective prompt, because there are so many ways to be able to help create an effective prompt. That seems to be such an important skill to access. And Alan, as people are thinking about what they've learned to make effective prompts, talk about what are some tips, some ideas, some insights that you learn to be able to make effective prompts for yourself to get the right answers.
When I started out, Daniel, the challenge was we really didn't know what it could do, what it couldn't do, and it was really trying to, we were leveraging these capabilities as we approached any other software. And that really was the first mistake that we were making, because as you interact with it more, and as you interact with all the other tool sets that are out there, their behaviors are different. The prompt that you use for ChatGPT is not going to give you the best result for Bard. I can promise you that. And so you have to learn and understand what drives some of these models, how they're going to perform. At the executive level, that's why it's so important, because how somebody prompts something and how they're getting their decisions and their information is vital to what that output is going to look like. And the other piece about that is, the more specific that you can get with what you're looking for, the better. And I'll give you an example. The company that I've started, we are creating what we're calling animated personas. And so each persona can be tailored to a specific market, a specific customer, a specific competitor, really depending on what end goal that we're trying to reach. With those personas, you can tailor them. There's 27 different traits, from demographics to, they get all of their information from one news network, right? Because we're trying to get as specific as we can so that they can provide us the most relevant information on what we're trying to do. So if you want me to try to shape a marketing campaign, for example, then, you want people to buy more broccoli. We'll use that as an example. Then we can create personas that love broccoli, farm it, do all these other things. And then on the flip side, we can create personas that absolutely hate it, because we're trying to understand the perspective of why people don't like it. Why, maybe it's too expensive, maybe they're allergic to it, try to build those capabilities into it. So you're really creating some focus groups around, each one of those demographics that you're trying to understand. That's a powerful tool and capability that we've only been able to have humans do it, and it's a very limited set. And being able to have hundreds and hundreds of AI bots that can behave like that is fantastic. All that is through prompt engineering.